thank you for joining for another WIL event. As you guys know, this is a WIL networking event, women in leadership levels. As you know, as you've heard me say lots of times, we're bringing in women that are inspirational, motivational, and this time also educational. So Cary's going to she has a lot of energy, and I'm sure she's going to give us a lot of great information. And I'm going to have Jenny Ramirez, who has worked with Cary in the past. I'm going to have her introduce her. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Cary Carbonaro is a certified financial planning professional with an MBA in finance and over 27 years of experience in financial services. As a managing director and partner of United Capital, ranked number 2 by Barron's independent advisor, she counsels her clients on how to live their best financial life. She was United Capital's MVP Managing Director for 2016, and this year Diamond Office of the Winner. Her book, The Money Queen's Guide for Women Who Want to Build Wealth and Banish Fear, was a #1 seller for Amazon in several countries in wealth management and was ranked one of the top 10 books that can make you rich by Daily Worth. She is the recipient of the prestigious 2016 Investment News Women to Watch Award and also won the Women's Choice Award given to women of finance in a decade in New Delhi, India. She has been named in Investopedia's 2018 Top 100 Influential Advisors in the U.S. In 2014, she was named an ambassador for the CFP board, one of the only 48 in the United States. She co-heads United Capital's Women Leadership Initiative, and she's a passionate female advocate for championing financial literacy, having spoken all over the world on the topic. She is listed also as #2 on Twitter, just behind Susie Osman. She's listed among the most influential women of finance on Twitter. Cary has been guest on Fox & Friends, The Today Show, CNN, CNBC, CBS, Fox News, ABC, NPR, and is a frequent guest on Fox 5, PBS Nightly Business, and WPIX New York. She has been quoted as a well-known publications, including the Wall Street Journal, Newsday, New York Post, USA Today, Cosmopolitan Magazine, Teen Vogue, AAPR, Time Magazine, Money Magazine, Bloomberg, Huffington Post, Bankrate, More Magazine, Business Insider, Reuters, Forbes, Kiplinger's, U.S. New World, and Investors. She's also served as a Orlando Sentinel's Money Matters hotline expert. She is part of the Go Banking Race, Smart Money Squad. Let's welcome Cary.
That was too much. She said too much. Thank you guys for having me. I'm so happy to be here. I'm going to tell you guys lots of stories today. And I know we only have 45 minutes to do it, so I'll try to do it as fast as I can because I want to give you guys time for questions. So this is me and my dad and my stepmom. That's Cortland College. We were just talking about that earlier. Do you recognize it, Tom? Tom and I went to college together. So that's me in college. Lessons I learned about money from my dad. I learned everything from my dad about money. Like, you know how kids bond with their parents over sports? I bonded over money. So he would take me to Take Your Daughter to Work Day before there was a Take Your Daughter to Work Day. In the 1970s, I used to go with him. He was a senior vice president at JP Chase, and I used to go with him to work. I used to go to foreclosure auctions with him, and we would bid on properties. We used to go watch Straight Talk with the Dolmans. I don't know if you guys, I'm really dating myself. This goes way back. How many people even know who the Dolmans are? Okay, so some of you guys remember them, right? They were from Long Island, and they had a TV show. So I learned everything there was to know about money at a super young age from my dad. So I was super fortunate. My dad passed away in 2005. And he worked just very long time for JP Chase. That's his 35 years of service. So I was very fortunate to know about money and learn financial literacy as a woman and as a young person before most people did. How many people learn financial literacy from their parents? Pretty good, pretty good. About half the hands went up. I'm very impressed. Most people don't, so if you do, you're ahead of the curve. There's me and my dad at a wedding before he passed. So, okay. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, and this is really a long story, so I'm going to try to shorten it down. So here I am. I had a very good career. I never had children. I focused my life on my career. So I was, by the age of 30, I was working on Wall Street. I was making $500,000 a year at age 30. I know. Crazy amount of money, right? You think, and I really thought I had it all together. I knew everything there was to know about money. I thought I had my life together. And then, guess what happened? No, well, I fell apart. But guess why? Take a guess. Nope, nobody's getting it yet. I married the wrong guy. Who said that? They should win a book. Yes, I married the wrong guy, and it was a disaster. And I'm going to tell you the short version of the story. So here I was, the strong, confident woman making all this money at a young age, and I married the wrong man. And not only did I marry the wrong man, but he was abusive as well. So, you have this woman here on one hand who is this, incredibly successful, confident woman, yet I was in this abusive marriage. Physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all of the above. So this guy tried to take everything from me. It took me a long time. So in the meantime, he moves me from Manhattan to Central Florida. And because he wanted to isolate me away from my friends and family. And, it worked, because here I was in the middle of nowhere in Central Florida, and he had me exactly where he wanted me, because that's when the abuse came on hard. And at that point, I had given up my job. I was now in the middle of nowhere, in Central Florida, no friends, no family, no job. I had no car. I literally had nothing in Central Florida. So that's when I said, I'm going to have to do something, and at least I could go out and help people. So I started my financial planning practice, because at least he would let me out of the house to go make money. So I left the house, and I made money, and I had this great, fantastic practice, which wound up being very successful in spite of the fact, and I would say I would compartmentalize my life, where over here I was this successful person, and over here I was like this, abused wife. And like it was two different people, because that's the only way I could deal with it. And every day he would say horrible things and do horrible things, and I would hold my ears and close my eyes, and I would say, I'm not going to let him steal my spirit. I'm not going to let him steal my spirit. And that's what I had to do, and then I had to go to a therapist. And anyway, long story short, it took 4 years of trying to get divorced from this guy. 4 years, hundreds of thousands of dollars. He sued me for my business. He said it was his. Yeah. So it's a horror. I write a little bit about it in the book. There's more. You can ask me any question under the sun. I'm a totally open book. I'm happy to share anything with you guys. But anyway, the good news is I am now on the other side of that horrible marriage. I'm happily married to a fantastic man. My life is fantastic, and now I get to preach my word of financial literacy for women and empowerment from being where I was, which is much more powerful than just having everything go great for you in your life. Because guess what? If it can happen to me, it can happen to any woman in this room, or man, but mainly, but usually happens more for women. So I want all women to be financially independent. And the fact that you're here and you're working, you're already halfway there. Now I want to teach you everything you need to know to be able to stay that way. Okay. So now I promise all the fun stuff. All the fun stuff starts. No more depressing stuff. So this slide, which is my favorite slide in the world, is actually from my friend who is a cardiologist for women. So she uses it for health, and I use it for wealth. It is exactly the truth. Sorry guys, you are just a lot simpler than we are. We are more complex in everything. So, okay, now let's talk about why women need a leg up when it comes to financial literacy, financial planning, all of this stuff. Okay, women invest conservatively or not at all. How many women here are afraid of the stock market? Okay, that's not that many. That's good. That's good. That's good. We'll talk about that later. Okay, I hate this statistic. Retire with 2/3 what men do. I do not like that statistic, but it's the truth. We save less, we make less, we live longer. So women, if you think about it, so we're going to retire, let's say we retire at 60. I'm just making it up, right? And we're going to live to 100. So we have to fund 40 years of our life, rest of our life. Some people are 110 years. The Social Security table now goes up to 120. So, I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. We are living longer. So from 60 to 100 or beyond, you may be retired for longer than you worked. Have you ever thought about that? Now, men, it's not as bad. You guys die. So, you don't have the same problem that we have. We have longevity, and it is an issue. It really is. Okay, we also spend more on healthcare, because why? Complicated. We have more stuff going on and going wrong, so we spend more money. We have shorter careers because we are out caregiving. And it's not just taking care of children, it's also taking care of parents. Sandwich generation. We have lots of stuff. It always falls on, I shouldn't say always. The majority of the time it falls on the female in the relationship. The sister, the daughter. Put others first. We're going to talk about what commitment money minds are in a bit. I hate this one. Live in poverty during retirement and rely on Social Security. Not a good stat. And by the way, Social Security is another whole story because it keeps getting pushed later and later and later and later. And now full retirement age. Is anybody a millennial in here? Where's the millennials? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You may never get Social Security. I don't know how many of you guys watch SNL, but there was an SNL, if you want to Google, it's so funny. It's Millennial Millions. Did you see that? It was fantastic. It's about the poor millennials who are never getting anything because when they were born, the boomers are going to take it all and they're never going to die. So, especially the women. The women are never dying. Okay. 90% of women will be responsible for their financial future solely at one point in their life. So, depending on when you were raised and how you were brought up, for the millennials, I'm going to keep picking on you guys, but so millennials, were you raised to believe that somebody else is going to take care of it for you? You guys over here. No? You're shaking your head no. Okay, well, the older generations, what do you think? Yes? Somebody else is going to take care of this money thing for me? Well, all you guys are here, but honestly, the truth is, yes. So I did a presentation. Where's Dawn?
Not here.
There she is. So I did a presentation, Dawn, in New Canaan. This was it was a high school. And I asked the girls in the high school, how many of you girls will be responsible for your financial future? Very wealthy school. How many will be responsible for your financial future? You know how many hands went up? Maybe 1, maybe 2. Everybody else said no, somebody else is going to take care of it. My father, my husband, these are 15-year-olds. And they think somebody else is going to take care of it. But anyway, it also could be because women don't like to raise their hands in a group setting, but that's another story. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. Okay, so here's some other fun stuff. So this is from Fidelity. 92% of women really want to learn about financial planning. So what I always say about women in planning is women are great planners. Think about it. How great are women planning their weddings, planning their vacations, planning parties. We are great planners. How many women wake up one day and say, I want to plan my financial future? Never! It never happens. Do you know what people call me? Crisis. I get called in a crisis, a divorce, a death, a disability, or losing a job. I get called in when there's a crisis because then they need to do something and they need help. But I never get a call just because I woke up one day and said, I need help. So, but guys do it all the time. So I think our brains are just wired a little bit different. Only 40%, 47% are comfortable talking about this stuff. 74% are proactive about saving for the future. 8 out of 10 don't want to have the conversation. And 60% worry about having enough money to last their retirement. And then when I tell them that they're going to last 40 or 50 years, that number probably goes up, if you think about it. Okay, so now, pay-wage gap. Now, I've been told by Canon, they do not have it here. I'm just warning you, telling you guys, not warning you, telling you. It exists in the real world. It does not exist here. That is what I am told. So you don't, but when you guys leave, if you leave, you have to be cognizant that this is real, that this is a real thing. So I'm just going to tell you, this is very recent, just happened this a month ago. Bloomberg came out with the pay-wage gap for Citibank. Citibank said, oh, we looked at our records and women make 28% less. Yeah, just came out, hot off the presses. So, it's real, it's coming out, it's being brought to light. I love Iceland. Last year, Iceland made it illegal to have a pay-wage gap. It's kind of interesting, just perspective from around the world. Lots of fun stuff. Now, this last one is really specific to me. I did it. And I said, it's a slide, you can Google it. If I was a man, what would I make? And for me, in my industry, I always said there's no way there's a pay-wage gap for me. I don't feel it. I don't think I make a pay wage. I don't think I'm getting paid less. I did it, and my industry, it said I would make 90% more if I was a man. Yes. I don't know what to tell you. I hope that we are going to close it in our lifetime. And it is getting better every year. So I just want you to be aware that it exists and it's real. Okay, confidence gap. This is a fun one. So, there's so many studies on this. But let's just say you're going for a job. And there's 10 things that you need. A woman will not apply for that job unless she has all 10. Guess how many the man needs to apply for that job? 3. The man will apply for the job with 3. The woman needs all 10. That's the confidence gap for women. And it's real. So, and actually it's also one of the reasons of the pay wage gap, because women don't ask in the beginning and don't negotiate their salary. That's another whole story. We'll get into that later if we have time. Okay. So this is another study. So 80% of women didn't want to talk about finances. And this is why they didn't want to talk about it. 56%, it's too personal. How many people were taught growing up, it's rude to talk about money? Yes, it's a taboo, right? If you think about it, I talk about money all the time, so I'm allowed, but if you think about it, like, think about your friends, hang out with your friends. You talk about everything with your friends. You talk about, am I allowed to say that? You talk about sex, you talk about drugs, you talk about whatever. I don't know. Talk about lots of fun stuff, but you never talk about money. You never talk about money, especially on the girls' side. Guys might. Do you guys talk about money? Guys talk about money? No? A little bit, right? You talk about your 401ks? Oh, yeah. Well, women never talk about it. We never, ever talk about it. It's just a subject that never comes up. People don't want to talk about it. It's uncomfortable. I was raised not that way. It never comes up. It's taboo. Interesting, right? Well, I would like to shine a light on that, but that's just me. Okay, so I like this slide. This is one of my favorites also. So what I love about this slide is, I mean, you gotta look at it a couple times. Besides the fact that the women have all the crap holding them down, they're also looking at the men, and the men are not even looking at them. Sorry guys, but I mean, this is a great slide. This is what holds women back in the world, is this slide. Okay, so here's my good stats. These are my positive stats. So this is fantastic. By 2030, women will control 2/3 of the nation's wealth. How amazing is that? And who knows why? The men are dying. That is why. I cannot wait. No offense, guys, but this is going to be great. I'm so excited for 2030. I mean, this is why I actually got my firm, United Capital, to give me lots of money to do a women's initiative. And now I lead that women's initiative because of this statistic. Like, wake up. This is happening. So anyway, 35% of millionaires are women as of last year. Fantastic. This is fantastic stats. Only 15% of women don't enjoy investing, so that means 85% do enjoy it. 92% want to learn about financial planning, 75% want to learn about money and investing, 83% want to get involved in their family finances, and mothers are the primary breadwinners in 4 out of 10 families. Raise your hand if you're one of them today. Fantastic. Fantastic. I'm going to clap for you guys. Fantastic. My sister is a single mom with 5 kids, but I also help. So she's not really completely alone. She gets some help. Okay, so now we're going to talk about things that I want all women and men to know about money. Credit cards are not free money. Can I get an amen? Thank you. So some people boo at me, some people clap at me when I say this, but you know, they are not there to stopgap your life. If you cannot afford it and you're putting it on your credit card, you don't buy it. I know it's horrible, I know I'm telling you things you don't want to hear, but this is honestly the best way to never owe anybody. I want you to pay it off in full every single month. And if you can't, just do whatever you can to get it down, and then once you have no balances every month, you are literally free. You are free. That creates financial freedom, where you can then take your life and take it in a million different directions. Freedom is the most incredible thing in this world, and you can all have it if you're financially free. So, promise me you'll pay off the credit cards. Okay. How many people here know their numbers? Okay, pretty good. Not bad, not bad. Okay, so, budget is not a 4-letter word like diet. I tell people this all the time. If everybody in here should do a budget. And all it is what's coming in every month, what's going out every month, and what's left over. That's it. It's so simple. You could do it on a napkin. You could do it on an Excel spreadsheet. It's so simple. Everybody needs to know that. Everyone here. Doesn't matter if you're male or female, doesn't matter. Everybody needs that. Okay, net worth. How many people know their net worth? Good, pretty good. I like these hands going up. Okay, net worth, I'll tell you a funny story. So net worth is assets minus liabilities equals net worth. I had a client come to me once, and he said to me, I said, doing numbers, and I said, what's your net worth? And he said, 25 million. And I said, okay, seems like it's a lot, but okay, that's good. And I said, what's your liability? What's your assets minus and your liabilities? And he says, well, I have $25 million in assets. I have 24 million in debt. And I said, so that means your net worth is $1 million. He never came back to me again. I never saw him ever after that. But he didn't like what I had to say. But anyway, so it's what you own, everything that you own, minus what you owe, and then that is your net worth. And guess what? I always tell this to where's the millennials? Raise your hands again. Millennials, millennials, millennials. Your net worth doesn't equal your self-worth, because Millennials have negative net worths. And that's okay, that's okay, that's okay, because guess what? They have student loan debt, they just started working, they just started saving, they just started their 401ks. It's gonna take them time to climb out of that red. And it's okay. As long as you know what it is and you're monitoring it and every year you're paying down debt and saving, you're doing the right stuff. And then your numbers will go like this. Every year myself and my clients and everybody that I counsel, every year it should go up, except for the financial crisis of '08, where it went down for everybody. But that's, by '09 it was back up. So that was just an anomaly that year. Okay, credit scores. So if you guys feel like Googling something fun, I was actually on TV this morning on WPIX doing a credit score segment, except I wasn't physically there because I was here. It was taped in advance and they just showed it this morning, so it's just a fluke. But anyway, so your credit score is super important. How many of you know your credit scores? Everybody's hands better go up. And if you don't know it, go to creditkarma.com, which I don't even think I put, did I put that on here? Go to creditkarma.com, you can get it for free. It's safe, I promise. It's not, they're not gonna steal your identity. You need to have what's called grade A credit. If you can get grade A credit, you can get the lowest rates for your mortgage, lowest rates for your cars, lowest rates for anything that you're gonna borrow. And it could save you, and I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. You need grade A credit. Super important. Okay. Benefits. How many of you guys are signed up for your 401k? Every hand better be up. Whose hand's not up? I'm gonna pick on you if you're not. Sorry. Everybody needs to be in their 401k. Do you know that you get free money? Do you know what matching is? Okay, so you guys get, let me see if I get it right, loose. It's 100% on the first 1%, 50% on the next 5%, up to 6. So, which is pretty much, if you want to, it's kind of complicated, that calculation, it's really 3.5%. So just put in 6%, you're going to get 3%, 3.5% for free. You don't have to do anything. They're giving you money. So why would anybody leave free money on the table? And you know what people say to me? I remember my stepson, his first job out of college, out of college, he said to me, I can't afford the 401k. I said, I will kill you. You have to do as much as possible. You can't afford not to do it. You don't even have any bills yet. You don't even know what a bill is yet. This is like your first job. And so anyway, now he does the max. So I'm super proud of him. Here, a couple of years out of college, he's already doing the max. So he definitely listened to me. But he was like, wow. He goes, and because what happens is over time, you turn around in 10 years, and you have like a substantial nest egg. And you're like, wow, that was really easy. I wish I did it earlier. And the millennials have time. I mean, time is on your side. So the more time you have, the more money you make, the more it compounds. It's the eighth wonder of the world. So the sooner you do it, the better. There's no, like, after this session is over, I want you to sign up if you're not signed up. Okay, inflation. So, inflation, think about if you, think about what your grandparents paid for their first house. Give me some numbers. 17,000, 15,000. What is that house worth today? 500,000. That's inflation. So it's happening if you feel it or not. It's happening. The longer the time frame, the more you feel it. So what happens is, women, especially females, and I can say this because I'm one of them, we like to hold on to cash because it feels good. Cash feels good. It's safe. It's not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to lose any money. However, I am losing money because of inflation and because of taxes. So I have to be invested for a long term instead of sitting in cash. And believe me, I don't want to do it either, but you have to. Okay. The thing to teach is financial literacy and pass it down. So I know some of you guys who had daughters. You guys have daughters here, right? I know you said that, right? So I want you to learn everything and then teach it to the daughters. This is the most important thing because what happens with financial literacy is it gets passed down from generation to generation. They don't teach it in school. I'll tell you a fast, funny story. When I was, my first job out of college, I was working for JPMorgan Chase, and I had this woman who came in. She was a pharmaceutical sales rep. She dressed great. She comes in and she's like, there's something wrong with my account. So I like pull up her account, and I'm like, oh, you're overdrawn. And she goes, I can't be overdrawn. I have checks left. I'm like, are you kidding me? She's college educated. I'm like, how is this even possible? But anyway, she didn't learn it from her parents. You need to teach this because there's no other way they're going to learn it. And it is so important. So it's the best thing to teach now. Okay, now advocate for yourself and others. So I talked about this a little bit before when we talked about the confidence gap. So how many of you guys have a mentor at work or a sponsor at work? Something like this is a fantastic thing. Okay, so the way it works for you to ask for raises, this is a Harvard Business Review study, and it's, I know, Seymour's getting nervous up here now. So the best way to do it is to actually, for a woman, men it's different. I'm telling this is specifically Harvard Business Review for women. For a woman to get an advocate or a sponsor to lobby or a rabbi on her behalf. Because it's looked at the social capital aspect of a woman advocating for themselves is looked upon negatively in the workforce. So you can look it up on the Harvard Business Review, confidence study, whatever, but find somebody to do it for you. It can even be a peer, but this is the best way to do it. Okay, don't lie. So I like this one because if you're in a relationship, spouse, or you don't have to be married, you're just together in a relationship. Money is a litmus test for your relationship. So if you are lying about money and hiding stuff and not getting all the skeletons out of the closet, it's going to come back and bite you sometime, and it could end your relationship. The number 2 reason that people get divorced is because of money and lying about money and financial infidelity, which, by the way, got massively done to me with my horrible ex-husband. So I feel really strongly about being completely honest with your spouse and significant other. Plan for the unexpected. This one's hard because we don't know what the unexpected could be. However, working with somebody who has all the things that could possibly go wrong so that you've got your bases covered. Make sure you have life insurance, make sure you have disability insurance, make sure you have things that can protect you if something horrible happens. Okay, so this is one of my really favorite ones. This is my firm's, actually. My firm came up with this. So it's findyourmoneymind.com. It's free. You can all do it. It's a super fun quiz. It's 7 questions. And you find out your subconscious response to money, how you react to money decisions. You're either a happiness, a commitment, or fear, but we switched it to protection, even though I like it better as fear. I'm a fear money mind. So what that means is I immediately get nervous around a decision around money. It's my subconscious goes into fear. And some people's subconscious goes into happiness. Usually they're the ones who have a lot of money on their credit cards. Because they like the instant gratification. So now there's no right or wrong, it's just how you react to money, and you should know it so that you can know yourself better and why you do the things you do around money. Okay, so I'm going to go fast on this. How are we doing? I got 5 minutes left, right? Before questions? Okay, I'm going to go super fast on this. This is what you should do in your 20s. Everything. You should do everything in your 20s. Start doing your 401k, establish a budget, establish an emergency fund, pay your bills and never carry a credit card balance, read my do's and don'ts of college, don't be afraid of the stock market, understand your employee benefits, negotiate for yourself or have somebody else do it for you. That's your 20s. 30s. Now, it's funny because the way I broke out the book, I broke it into decades, but obviously some people buy their first house in their 20s, some people buy the house in their 40s, 50s, so kind of all over the place. But if you're in your 30s, make sure you're not only marrying that person, you're marrying their money and their money personality. So sit down, disclose everything, don't lie. So how many people know this calculation? The pity calculation and what your ratios are for a mortgage. Does anybody know what those are? Super important. It's my most important calculation in the book, I think. Because remember the financial crisis we were talking about earlier? 08, 09? Does anybody remember that? I really remember that. And so what happened was, let me just tell you what it is. You take your income divided by 12 times 0.28. That is the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance that you can afford comfortably to buy a house. Okay, that nice little calculation got stretched during the financial crisis. It was up to 55, it was up to 60, it was up to, there was no interest, there was interest only, there was negative amortization, there was all these crazy things going on, which is what actually brought down the whole entire market of the financial crisis in 08, was not following this calculation. Follow this calculation and you'll be safe, you'll be set for life, and you'll never be cash poor and house rich. You take your income, gross income divided by 12 times 0.28, and that is your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. It's called pity. This is just some stuff in my book. You don't have to take your ex off if you have to refinance your house. I wrote that for one of my girlfriends who was going through a divorce. And if you lose your job or quit, there are 7 things that you should do. Okay. What to do in your 40s. So 40s is an interesting time, a lot of reinvention. You know, you've got people going out on their own. You've got people relaunching their career, people going back to work, the kids are going back to school, or they're going to go back. There's called, has anybody ever heard of iRelaunch? So you guys are already in the workforce, but for people that you know who want to come back into the workforce, women who are home raising the kids, iRelaunch is a fantastic program. My friend Carol runs it out of Boston, and actually you should probably get connected with you guys because they have fantastic resources. And then getting remarried, what does that look like? And what does that look? What's a happy blended family? What to do in your 40s, 50s, avoid the landlines, empty nest potentially. What do you do for your parents? This is like the hugest thing in your 50s. Don't forget your catch-up contributions, and it's a really good time for long-term care in your 50s. Okay, 60s, hopefully you're getting ready to retire, we hope, maybe. What to do if you become a widow. It's actually the highest time for women to become a widow is in their 60s. How to communicate to your beneficiaries. There's so many people that say yes, no, I don't want to tell my kids, I want to tell my kids, I don't, there's no right or wrong, it's whatever you want. What are charitable options? There's so many fantastic charitable options, and what do you want your legacy to be? So now this funny chart my firm put together. So you see that woman in the 60s over there? I mean, do you know any 60s woman that looks like that? They originally had her with gray hair and a cane. She was like this with a cane. And I'm like, take the cane away. And take the gray hair away. But anyway, so this is it just summarized real fast. Okay, so the new financial planning pyramid, I absolutely love this one. So managing the money is all the easy stuff, it's not really easy stuff, but the stuff that you know about on the bottom. Picking stocks, doing all your taxes, all the stuff that, most people talk about. But really, how you move up, I call it like Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid, but now it's for money. And so, achieving goals is the next level, peace of mind, and the final, accomplishing your life's purpose and leaving a legacy. And that is where, and also that's for me freedom too. Freedom's up at the top. That's where we all want to be. And actually they've got freedom from worry on peace of mind. I like it up at the top, but it's personal. Okay, so this is a quote from my investment news thing, and this is how my dad taught me. This is how he raised me. I could be anything I want. I do not want to be president. But he said I could do it. So if I wanted to, I could. But don't worry, I'm not doing it. And then questions and answers, it's time. I did it exactly 45 minutes. And I want you guys to connect with me on social media. You can ask me questions. I'm a social media animal. I love it. And please, you can ask me questions. If you don't want to ask me them now in the group setting, feel free to reach out to me and ask me questions. But I'm ready for questions. Yes?
You talked about credit card, not having any credit card debt. How do you build credit when you don't have credit cards?
Okay, you need credit card. You definitely need credit cards, even if you are. But credit cards. This is what comes into your credit score. Your credit cards, your mortgage, your car loans. Sometimes even they report if you're renting a house. They will report you. So you don't necessarily need a credit card, but it's good for convenience. And also, if you use it for, let's say, just using it to pay it off at the end of the month in full, then it's for convenience. So it's building your credit while it's being convenient for you. So, and I've heard a couple of people say to me, well, if you pay it off in full, it hurts your credit. That is a misnomer. It's a myth. I don't know how many people ever thought that. I don't know why anybody thought that. That is not true. I don't know if the credit cards came up with that to try to make you think that you have to carry a balance, but it is totally not true. If you pay it off in full, it's just as good as carrying a balance, although I don't know why you would want to carry a balance, because then you're paying them. They own you, pretty much. So, but if you don't have a credit card, what I've had a couple of people do is, if you can't get one, because what happens in college, if you don't get one in college, there's no, it's easy to get one. Anybody can get one in college. But then when you're out of college, if you didn't have one, it's harder to get. So then I tell people, let's go with a secured credit card with a $500 balance. You hold the money in an account, they give you a $500 balance. You hold it for a year, then you can get a credit card. And that's the way it works. Yes? So good question. Okay, so he asked me how about canceling credit cards that you already paid off? So what I tell people if you're going to do that, because what happens is you have lines of credit outstanding. So let's just say you have, 10 credit cards, right? And if you have 10 credit cards, and you want to close some, you close the newest ones. You leave the older ones. The older ones help your credit score go higher. The newer ones do not help your credit score. So if you're going to close anything, you close the new ones. Also, super important, how many of you guys fall for, you want to save 10% on this purchase at Gap? Take out a credit card. Oh, nobody's falling for it? Really? Really? All right, see, you do. All right, so this is what I say. Every time they do that, your score goes down. Because they're pulling a credit report. It's called a hard inquiry, and it makes your score go down. So what I tell them when they ask me that, I say, absolutely, my credit is frozen, and you can't run my credit. And then, of course, they say, well, that's another story. I'll talk about credit freezing in a minute. But I say, if you don't run my credit, and they say they can't do it, and then I don't get it. But anyway, that's my answer to them and then I tell them, like they care, I tell them every time you run your credit, your score goes down. They don't care, but I tell them anyway. And so there's also something about, so how many people know what credit freezing is? Yes, do you do it in the back?
I've done it since the day it came out.
It's fantastic. Well, it is, except when you want to get credit. So what it is you can freeze your own credit, which mine's been frozen forever. Mine's been frozen since my divorce. Like, that's how long it's been frozen, because they were doing stuff to trying to take out cards in my name. So I froze it way back in the day. But what happens is, now there was a credit card breach. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? So there's potentially data that your identity can be stolen, so that's why they said you can freeze your credit. And what happens is then nobody can take out credit in your name. So no identity theft, but then also you can't. So which means, like, for me, if I need to get like a car loan or something, then I have to unfreeze my credit, I have to find the PIN, it takes me like weeks to figure it out, and then I unfreeze it for like a day, and then I put it back on again. And then you have to tell them to hurry up and run your credit while it's unfrozen. But it's still worth it, and it's very, very safe to do, and everybody should do it. Because then you don't have to worry about identity theft. Yes?
You talked about grade A credits. What would that score be?
750 and above. And that's what you want to go for. Yes?
Do you have recommendations for resources that say what does and doesn't affect your score? I feel like there's so many myths out there.
Yes. So I really, really like creditkarma.com, and I also really like Experian. Both of those two. Experian is my favorite credit bureau, and Credit Karma is my favorite free thing. That both of which you can credit monitor and credit model. So modeling is, if I do this, then what? If I pay off this credit, what will my score be? If I get out, take another credit card, what will my score go up or down? So credit monitoring is just looking at it all the time, but if it's frozen, you don't have to. And if it's, and then modeling is, playing with it and seeing what will affect your credit score. It's funny because I actually worked back in the day at Citibank credit cards, before any of this was public knowledge, nobody knew what went into a credit score. And I was so obsessed with my credit score back a million years ago, before any of this was common knowledge, that I said, I'm gonna go work for Citibank credit cards so I can find out what goes into that credit score. So now everybody can find out. It's fantastic. It's the Oz, behind the screen, you can see now what goes into the credit score. But paying your bills on time is the most important thing that goes into the credit score. Okay, questions? Yes. I know. Wait, I'm going to go way in the back first.
Other than 401k and the other things that you mentioned, what would you recommend as the best investments for women in their 30s and 40s today?
I would say, are you already maxing out your 401k?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I always say max out the 401k first. Then I say make sure you have an emergency fund, which is anywhere from 3 to 6 months of expenses. If you have the emergency fund and you have the 401k, then you can have another outside account, like a brokerage account. Actually, I do have something that I wanted to show you guys on the screen here. Let me see if I can do this. I'm going to have to put my glasses on. This thing that I had open before. Yeah, where is that? It just came up for a second. Where is that? There it is. Okay, so this is kind of cool. I love this chart. I actually had it in my presentation, and my compliance had a heart attack, and I took it out, and I said, all right, I'll just show it on the screen. And I didn't put it in my presentation, but I'm still showing it to you. Okay, so what I want you to do is take a look at, pick a color, and follow that color along those years, from 1999 to 2018. Everybody can pick a different one, doesn't matter. Can anybody tell me what they think is going on in this chart? It's not random.
Returns on the investment.
So this is asset classes. So each color is a different asset class. So I'm going to pick the orange. The orange one is emerging markets. Emerging markets is usually very high risk, high reward. So it's either doing really good or really bad, right? So, but the problem is you never know where it's going to be. You never know if it's going to be at the top. You never know if it's going to be at the bottom. The whole point of this beautiful chart is that you have all the asset classes because you never know which one's going to be on top and you never know which one's going to be on bottom. Nobody does. And they're lying if they tell you that they do. Because nobody does. Because that's like the future crystal ball thing. What was interesting last year was not a great year for the market. And if you look in 2018, what's the number one thing? Cash. Cash was number one last year. That has not happened in forever. I can't even remember the last time that's happened where cash was number one. I mean, cash wasn't even number one during the financial crisis. So it was a very interesting year. But anyway, the point is, you have it all. You have a little bit of everything. So when you were asking me about what to put it in, or, whatever, all of the above. That's what's called a diversified portfolio, meaning all the different asset classes. Okay, next question. Yes?
So what was thought on these investments like Vanguard that they do it by year?
Target date retirement. Yeah, so those are good. So the whole reason that those came into existence was to sort of set it and forget it for people who, they're supposed to move as you get older, so it's got a target date. So let's say, what year are we in, 2019? So, let's say I'm 2020 target retirement, which means I'm retiring next year, which I'm not, but let's say I am. Then I would have a lot more cash in that, and it would get more conservative as I go along. However, they are good if you have literally said forget it and don't want to do anything else. During the financial crisis of 08-09, they got killed. I mean, hammered, killed, performed worse than expected because it was their first downturn because they're new. They came out in 06. And so they did not perform as well as they should have. If it was me personally, I would not use a target date fund because I think I could do better by picking the different asset classes. But if I just had one option and my only option was the target date, it's supposed to not hurt you as much. It's supposed to be okay. You're supposed to, can you do better? Yes. But is it good? Is it safe? Yes, it's supposed to be. Because it's supposed to move with your age. Like age-based funds for 529s. It's the same type of thing. Questions? Yes?
You just mentioned the 529. What do you think about those?
I think they're great.
Sorry, Cary, can you just repeat the question?
Yes.
Because we're doing a WebEx.
Sure. So her question was, what do you think of 529s? So I think 529s are an excellent way to save for college. They've only been around for, I guess, about less than 15 years now. All the money that you put in grows tax-free for college. So if you're going to be paying for college, you should be putting it in a 529. There's no question about it. And also New York, you're very lucky because New York has New York Saves through Vanguard, which you can just go log on yourself and, it's a great, low cost, and you can pick the different options, and it's a great way to save for college. I mean, there's really no downside to a 529. What other questions? Yes?
So you said before that our net worth doesn't equal our self-worth.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, how do you find a happy balance, especially when you're going through that?
Well, you know what it is? I'll repeat the question? Sure. So Katie said, how do you balance your net worth doesn't equal your self-worth when you are a young millennial? And it's really interesting because the way that I find is, especially with millennials, they like to compare. There's a lot of online tools with, how am I doing versus my age, how am I doing versus this. So most millennials have negative net worth, not self-worth, negative net worth, which means, and the closer you get to over 30, the more it starts to go potentially not in the red anymore. But at 20-something years old, you're right out of college, you have student loan debt, you're paying off your student loans, you got your first job, you're putting in your first 401k. It literally, if you look like this, it's going to look like this. It's going to look like a line like this, where over time it's going to go up, and you just have to be cognizant of it, and also don't beat yourself up because you're not supposed to have a positive net worth, I think, when you first get out of college, and if you do, that's amazing because that means you have no student loan debt, and probably your parents paid, right? So that's probably what that means, and that's it. So I think if you are diligent, that every year you pay down your debt and you increase your savings or your 401k, it's gonna go in the right way, and you can actually figure it out. You can figure out how long is it going to take you to be in the red. To be in the black. You can figure it out. I can figure it out for you. Yes?
The emergency fund, where would you recommend putting that, not just regular savings?
So, yeah. I do actually a regular savings. So I know people hate when I say this, but, so emergency fund has got to be liquid. So not a CD, not an investment, not a stock, not a bond, has to be in cash. But so what I tell people is put it in a high yield savings account. You know, you go to gobankingrates.com and figure out like what's a high yield. I personally use Synchrony Bank, super high yield, and that's where I keep my liquid cash. And actually, they're actually paying real interest right now, which is shocking. Like I got like over 2.5% almost on my cash at Synchrony Bank. So I mean, it's real money. I'm getting like real money on my, it's been so long since I got real money on my money. I was like, wow. I mean, I did my taxes and I'm like, that's some real money. I got real money this year. So yeah, that's what I suggest. But it has to be liquid because that's the point of it being emergency. Convertible to cash immediately. Because that's what's emergency fund. Yes?
What was that return rate you said you're getting?
Like 2 point something, 2.2, it's Synchrony Bank. It might even be more, I don't know. It moves all the time, but it keeps going up, which is fantastic. Yes?
How do you feel about investing in gold and silver?
Investing in gold.
Investing in, oh, she wants to know how I feel about investing in gold and silver. It's not really an asset class. You know, silver is a little bit speculative, and gold is supposed to be what's called a store of wealth. So it's supposed to be there for you to just keep pace with inflation instead of cash. But it's not really an asset class. If you look here, it's not included as an asset class. So I would not, and also I've had a lot of experience with clients wanting this, and having horrible experiences with physical gold, horrible experiences. Losing things, having things stolen, I mean, not good stuff. So I'm not a big, huge fan of precious metals, personally. Yes?
I had a second income, and I was wondering if you had any advice from protecting my assets. What's happening is that hobby is becoming a little bit more lucrative, and I feel like I might be losing money in the long run. Like,
Are you an LLC?
Sorry?
Are you an LLC
No.
with the second one?
No, I'm an author.
Okay, so let's see. So
Sorry, the question is if you have a second income, you know,
right, how to protect your second income. She's an author and it's not an LLC. So now, how do you mean that you're going to hurt yourself in the long run? Tell me what you mean.
So I'm starting to earn money on my novels, you know, between advances, royalties, things like that, but everything's cash, right? So I'm coming into a higher tax bracket.
And you're not paying estimated taxes?
No,
Oh, okay. All right, so do you have a CPA?
I do.
Okay, good. You need to talk to the CPA because what's going to happen is if you're not paying at least 90% of estimated taxes, you're going to be hit with penalties and interest when you pay your taxes the next year. So you have to make sure that that cash that you're getting, some of it's going to the IRS.
Okay.
So if that helps, but that's fantastic. Congratulations. Yes.
One more question.
Okay, wait. Go ahead. One more question. Go ahead.
Thoughts on a Roth IRA?
I love the Roth IRA. Okay. Well, also, do you guys have a Roth 401k option? Fantastic. Okay. So, do you guys know the difference between a regular and a Roth?
No.
Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, so a regular IRA or 401k, a regular, you immediately get the tax benefit now. So if I make 100 and I put 20 away, I only pay taxes on 80. So I immediately get a tax savings. However, if I make 100 and I put 20 in the Roth 401k, I do not get the tax savings. I still get taxed on the 100, but that 20,000 grows tax-free forever for the rest of my life, which remember I'm living to 110, so that's really good. I love the Roth option. It's fantastic. And so, but I struggle with, do I want the tax deduction now or do I want it later? So what I do is I split and I do half and half. So, because I can't decide. And then some years I'm like, I really want the tax deduction, and some years I'm like, I really want the Roth, and then I switch it back and forth. But if you can do it, do it. The fact that you have the Roth option, now the other thing, the Roth IRA, back to the Roth IRA. The Roth IRA has income limits. So not everybody can do a Roth 401k, Roth IRA, but everyone can do a Roth 401k. Doesn't matter what your income is. You can make $1 million, doesn't matter. You can still do the Roth 401k. So people get that confused all the time.
Thank you very much, everybody, and Cary for coming. We invite you to sign at the table for a book. She will be rattling a few books in here, and thank you, everyone.